You can start this with nothing. The money is never a problem. If the deal is good enough, you could go get the money. Over 3 years, just by myself, sold about $4 million worth of handbags and made $557,000 net profit. We bought the deal for $28,000 and sold it for $103,000. We did it in our garage. My wife just shipped it out. This is repeatable stuff, man. I tell this story every single day, and less than 1% take action. The biggest barriers in your brain.
Hypothetical scenario, you wake up, all you have is your resale knowledge. What's your first go-to?
Right now, I believe the huge opportunity is in the...
You don't have to believe me, and that's fine, but I promise you, this is one of the best episodes I've ever recorded. And I'm not in the business of letting you down. I'm not going to hype you up just to let you down. I had my friend Shannon on today. This was his 5th time on the podcast. Shannon is a reseller, a flipper, a liquidator. He buys pallets and truckloads of random items and resells them. He'll buy them for 2 to 5 cents on the dollar and sell them for 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. And holy crap, this is the most tactical, get your hands dirty, specific advice you have ever heard. Whether you want to make an extra $100 a week or an extra $100,000 a week, this episode will apply to you. It was so good, we had to split it up into 2 parts. Part 2 will be a week from today exactly. If you want to hear the other 4 Shannon episodes, go check out episode 38, 41, 61, and 64. That was in July and September. And I promise we're going to have them on again. Enjoy.
I founded like 10 companies. I've sold some of them, and then was just like, okay, what else can I sell? And I love to resell. I love to buy at auctions. I love the liquidation space. Once you build the systems around it, you can really apply it to any category. Right from selling iPhones, I took about a year to learn a new product line. I looked for a high-end product that had money, and I sold handbags, luxury handbags. And over 3 years, I just by myself, sold about $4 million worth of handbags.
Oh, man.
Made $557,000 net profit. And it was great. And then I got
bored.
bored.
So you went straight to handbags after phones in 2017.
Yeah. So I sold, and I was like, okay, I don't want to retire. And then I do a podcast called Business Brain, and a lot of people were talking about social commerce and stuff, and I didn't know anything about that. And it's like, how does this work? So I just started
They're still
studying.
talking about it. I feel like people are still saying it's the next big thing.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about it. So I was like, my whole life, I've tried to just follow my curiosity. Like, that's interesting. Can I monetize it? Some way to do it and kind of just pull the string. So I did that, and I started buying low-end bags. I had this system in my head that I wanted to make $500 a day. I'm like, I'll sell 10 bags, make $50 a bag, and but I only want to work like an hour. I just built this business up and I wanted some time to kind of relax. But it turned out, as I worked my way up the food chain, I could sell 1 bag a day and make $500. So I was like, wow. So I moved up, and it takes the same amount of effort to sell $10 than it does 1,000, right? And
yeah.
So I just moved up the food chain and
sometimes more effort to sell $10.
Yeah, more effort probably. Yeah. Yeah. And I learned a lot. I had a great time. And we talked about this a little bit when I was on your show last year about getting involved with the company. I've sold most of the stuff on Poshmark and eBay, and I work with those people. I get really as close to them as I can via LinkedIn. I find the product managers and the category managers, and I reach out, and then that's how you avoid somebody complaining like, I got banned on eBay or my account got shut down. Well, when you know people,
yeah,
that's how you avoid that. And then you volunteer to speak at their events and stuff, and they know who you are.
So you started by strategically reaching out to category managers to build rapport and a reputation.
As soon as I knew what I was going to sell.
Really?
If you want to sell car parts, you darn sure better know the auto category manager on eBay, and he should know who you are. And you don't want to ask him for anything, but you want to get in his conversation flow. You want to reply to his posts and congratulate when he does stuff, and your name just gets out there. And then the DM you send them is, hey, I'm in the car parts. I sell X dollar amount on your thing, eBay. I love it. Thank you so much. Great platform. Yep. And then stop. And hopefully they reply, and you say, if you ever like somebody to talk about what it is like building a business on eBay, I'd be glad to talk. That's how I got invited. So then I started, for almost 5 years, I spoke to big groups of new eBay employees. It was called Becoming eBay. And then I spoke at their eBay Live stuff. And so you just make yourself available. And then I got in there, they did a 20th anniversary commercial/video thing, and I was in that. And it changed my whole life at eBay, man. When you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
Yeah. I feel like The negative thing that everyone says about doing stuff like this is the platform risk, platform dependency, right?
Yes.
But what you're talking about is an insurance policy against that. Strategically upfront, not when you need it, but way before you need it.
Yeah, you can't do it because I get messages from people all the time. My account got whatever, Amazon gatekeeped me, Poshmark did it's too late. You have to, they have to know you. Yeah. So once I started selling a ton on Poshmark, I was just doing the same thing. I'd go on LinkedIn, I'd find what they were doing, and I'd be like, man, I'm having such a great time. And then I sold $1 million, and that's all I said. I went to the CEO and I was like, man, I'm loving Poshmark. I just sold my first $1 million. And they were like, what? What do you mean sold your first $1 million? And I was like, yeah, because, it turns out most people are hobby sellers, right?
Yeah.
And I was grinding, I was, trying to build a system. So they were like, come to our building and come meet us and this and that.
Wow.
So I did that. So you do it back. I do most things backwards in my life, but you go around the backside so they know who you are and they trust you and you're reliable. And man, when you have a problem, you just pick up the phone. It's just like fixed.
On a recent episode with this guy named Jordan, he talks about permissionless marketing and how just like doing these projects without permission to get someone's attention. And he calls it the third door. It's like, you got to find the third door. Maybe like it's an eBay executive that you can't get their email or they won't respond to email, but you find them on Strava, right?
Yes.
Comment on their recent Strava ride or Venmo or something. The third door. I love that principle.
Yeah. And it's just getting your name in the flow of conversation, because then it's like, oh, I've seen that guy, or I've seen that guy comment on this, or he spoke at this, or he did, I got invited to speak to the top 500 eBay executives and just share my story. You got to talk. And if you don't like to talk, have one of your people talk, your employees or whoever, your partner. But that if you like talking, and it'll change your life too. I get invited to all kinds of stuff.
Or if you like not getting shut out of business because of some algorithm, right? That doesn't care about you.
Yeah, my selling limit on eBay is $5 billion.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
so
a big deal.
I post about that on an X. I'm like, you want to learn how to get a $5 billion selling limit? Back up 5 years.
Yeah.
And do these things now for your business.
Most people don't realize how big of a deal that is. I've sold millions on eBay over the last 15 years. You probably used to do that every year.
Yep.
But like, you've got to work up to that. They've got to see 99+% feedback score. You got to ship same day, maybe next day. And like, especially when you find a winning formula, that's what you're up against is your selling limit. Because as I understand it, if you list one product with 1,000 items, $10 each, then that's $10,000, right?
Yeah,
like they don't care how many listings, they care the total volume of your inventory on those listings, right? That's how they count your selling limit.
That's right. And you got to build credibility over time. And I still remember the first comment I ever made to an eBay person. I was at a conference, and I was just in line. I was in line to get coffee in the morning. I was talking to somebody and I was like, yeah, it's really frustrating. I'm selling like $100,000 a month and I don't have an eBay rep. I don't have anybody I can even talk to. And this lady turned around the line and she hands me her card and she goes, now you do.
Wow.
And that was my first I was like, really? I was like, cool. So I followed up and then I just, you just keep building it out. And LinkedIn is amazing for that, man. And even suppliers, you want to sell luxury handbags, you should be connecting with everybody that's in that food chain up on LinkedIn. Today, Prada just bought Versace. Well, if you want to sell Versace or Prada, you should be up there. Congratulations. This is a great deal. Stop. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
And, just get in there.
When you said earlier that you wanted to spend a year learning a category, was that like a very deliberate decision up front, or looking back, you ended up kind of learning it for a year?
That's just how long it took me. Yeah, I'm super impatient and I don't like to wait, but the research is so crucial. I wasn't even sure that this was the right category to sell. I didn't know which was the right platform. Of course, eBay, right away, because I'd done so much business there, but I knew there was other, this new thing, Mercari and Poshmark was new and, Whatnot and all this kind of stuff. And now it's all live selling. So that's a whole new thing to learn. So studying that, when you can make small mistakes, is really powerful. And that's what I was doing. I was selling stuff for like a couple $100, but I didn't quite understand how the photography worked. And I didn't know what a credibility statement was until I came up with that concept. And I didn't understand about, I could just make my own authenticity certificate because I was guaranteeing that it was authentic and I didn't have to pay somebody $30, but that took me time. And then on and on and on. So it was like 8 to 12 months before it kind of started getting steam and, before I realized, oh, this is going to work.
What first put handbags on your radar of all things? I know you wanted nothing electronic, something higher ticket. Why handbags?
I've bought a lot of stuff from Costco over the years from their auction, the liquidation site. And you get loads of there's this famous suffix they always put on it. They'll say, oh, it's patio furniture, barbecues, and more. And there's that kind of sucks.
That's a very weighted
like
suffix to a
it's
sentence.
Very powerful. And there's a manifest, so but I pay much attention to it. And I got some stuff in. And again, I'm like a hardware guy. I like stuff, and I still like buying like Blackstones and this kind of stuff. And I got some bags in there, and I brought them home and I set them on the table at my house. And it was like, my wife was like calling her friends over, and my daughter was excited. And I was just, I thought, this is weird, man. Like, I've got 80,000 iPhones in my warehouse, and none of the women in my life are impressed at all. But I bring home 10, Louis Vuitton and Burberry and Prada. And it was like, they're out of their mind. So I was like, well, there's something here. So could I find a supplier, and how do you do it? And so I started buying from other sellers to learn how they were packaging.
Knowing you're not going to make much money. This is your education, right?
It's tuition. You have to pay tuition. And so it's your, experimenting and trying to figure stuff out. And who can you study and copy?
Who can I copy? Yeah.
Who's got, I always say it's best practices because that sounds better, who's doing it the best so you can figure out how to do it better. Can you take better photography? Like, I have one of my students in my mastermind, he does pressure washers, and his hack is, he's like, I just include a video. Facebook Marketplace algorithm just puts me on top every time. Yeah.
Oh, on his Facebook Marketplace
does the video of it. Yeah. He's like, 90% of other sellers just take photos, and I've got video of me walking around, or if it's used, I have a video of it working, all that kind of stuff. So you're trying to find all the ways to differentiate yourself, because I have found what you need to be successful. And I call it, what is your unfair advantage? What do you have that other people don't? It could be money. It could be a big warehouse. You could have you could be able to handle big things like appliances, if that's whatever. And so I was looking for this, what is my unfair advantage, and what I could do better. And I knew the number one thing I knew I could do better was customer service, because I know that so well, because, everybody's a psycho in the tech world and their phones and their laptops. So I knew that really well. And I talked that up, and I leaned into that a lot. I did free returns for anybody that was not happy at all. It was just like it got rid of a whole, what could have been arguments about stuff. And I did unbelievable shipping and packaging like it was a gift, because you want somebody spent $1,000 on a handbag. They already don't trust you. They think you're going to scam them. Your customers are prepared to be disappointed. Always.
I think that's true on eBay with any category, in my experience.
Yeah. Anything you order online, your customers, is it going to show up? Are you going to ship it on time? What's it going to look like when it shows up at your door? What's the boxes? Are you using some ratty old Amazon box, or did you have your own box? And is it wrapped really nice? Is there a thank you card? Maybe a coupon? All that, like what seems like basic stuff, but I would say 95% of sellers don't do it.
It's negative confirmation bias. Let's say they get a handbag that comes exactly as planned, but for whatever reason, it doesn't have like a wallet attached. But you didn't advertise a wallet, and they see that and they're like, oh, perfect. Just what I thought. I knew this guy was going to screw me.
They're ready.
And then they leave you negative feedback, and then you're screwed.
Yeah. And so the way you avoid that is you do free returns, and you use this. I posted about this on X, but the 2 tokens customer service, there's only 2 tokens in customer service. There's it's really no big deal, and it's the end of the world. As a seller, you must choose, because the rule of that is you can only choose one. So if you choose it's no big deal, the customer chooses it's the end of the world. So you always choose the end of the world token, and you say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's so good.
Man, this is so bad. Let me tell you what, I'm going to send you a prepaid label immediately, and I'm going to send you a coupon for $50 off for another purchase in the future. And it just like stops them.
So you take the opposite of what they're doing, basically?
Yes, you have. Well, you don't you don't give them the choice.
No. Okay.
Yeah, if you have the choice, you always choose. It's, oh man, I understand what you're just trying to. You're pushing massive empathy at them, right? You can't get in the you're right, I'm right, you're wrong. That's a loser. So what you want to do is get up from the negotiating table and go sit next to them, and you say, yes, this man, I really understand how disappointing this is to you that USPS delivered this box 2 days late. It's not my fault, but I understand that that's a nightmare if it's a birthday present or whatever. Let me get you a label. I'll send it right back. And oftentimes they go, oh, you know what? I don't have to send it back.
But if you say, that's not my fault, I'm not in the delivery business, then they triple down and their ego gets involved.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to, it's doing things backwards. You're not saying it's your fault. And maybe if it is, then you say it, but you're just taking accountability. That's what people want. They want you as a seller. It doesn't matter if you're selling them a phone, a bag, a car, or whatever. They want you're accountable for the sale and how it all happens, even until they get it and everything. So you have to take care of them.
Now, what do you do in a category where the margins aren't there to support such generous customer services? You know what I'm saying?
Why are you in that category?
Let's just say you wake up one day and you are, and why I chose this category. This is where I am.
This is why we don't sell iPhone repair anymore. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
because I've been in these low margin categories a lot. And I want to be that nice guy when it comes to returns, when UPS screws up, but and a lot of times, but if there's no repeat purchasing behavior, I know I'm never going to get more money out of them. It's genuinely not my fault. That's
just a cost of business though, right? If you have like eBay, the way they do it, if you don't offer returns at all, they bury your listing. Okay. And they'll tell you, they'll say, hey, it's up to you, but we're responding to the market. And if you offer free returns, we're going to bump your listings up, right? More engaged, more exposure, because we want our customer to have the best experience in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so there is a cost of doing business for sure. And if it's low margin things, I try to head it off of the past and say, I tell everybody I work with, don't sell consumer electronics. Just don't do it unless you're going to take them apart and sell components and there's more money in that. If you know that special, that's your unfair advantage. That's one thing, but try to go buy, phones and consumer electronics from the auction sites. There's no money in it anymore.
Yeah.
There was,
yeah.
But guys like you did it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I did it too. But so you keep moving to the next thing. For us, first it was computers, printers, monitors, and then all that stuff went out. And then laptops. And we rode the laptop wave for 5 years, every part that could fail. But then there became less parts, less components that would fail, less moving parts, no floppy drive, no optical drive, no this, no that. Well, you have to work your way out of business. You do it or someone else will.
Yeah.
Right. And then we moved to phones and then iPads. And at that point, we were in the glass business, right? That was really what we were in. And at that point, it was like, maybe we should sell it. Maybe we should, and thankfully somebody came to me and wanted to buy me, which was great. So
we had the same arc.
Yeah.
I went through all that.
Squeezing the margin. I don't sell the bags anymore. I still think it's a great business model, but you have to be different. I don't want to do live selling. I'm a dude with a beard. I'm not going to connect with people. I know I could hire somebody to do it for me, but that's not it. But live selling is
that's how handbags are sold.
It's most fashion items and stuff like that. Live selling, man. It's hot. And Poshmark knows it. eBay has it. Whatnot does it. It really works.
Conversely, that could be your unfair advantage. If you're really energetic and you're good on camera, handbags could be an even better opportunity today than it was when you were in it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just such an important part. The only constant is change, right?
Yeah.
Nothing stays the same. And if you don't continually evolve what you're working on, you'll be left behind.
Here's a question. So let's say I want to pick a category. I want to buy a liquidation lot from Costco. Was it bstock.com?
Yeah,
is that where you could...
bstock is the marketplace for a lot of these big companies.
Okay.
And you go up and get registered there. You need a resale permit, and Costco's a great place to start up there.
So let's say I want to pick a category. What percentage of the importance would you assign on the category to how much supply and demand there is? So do your research, find a category where there's a lot more demand than supply, and then what percentage of your potential success would you say is dependent on you just having a good system and process? Category's kind of irrelevant. You just need a good system and plug any category into that and you'll win. What percentage would you ascribe to either one of those?
The system is like 70%.
Okay.
The underlying infrastructure that I have a system, I bid, I use math to bid, not emotion. I've studied, I've done my research. Let's say I'm in Florida, so I know that in most of the other parts of the country, patio furniture in the winter is going to be very inexpensive. But in Florida, it's 68 degrees out in the winter and people are sitting outside. So I should be selling that product and buying it in the winter and selling it all year long there. That's my opportunity.
If you have a way to get it to Florida.
Yeah. All those places ship. You got to just factor in your shipping. Or I have some big guys that I work with and I've got a warehouse and I know that scratch and dent appliances are wildly profitable and people want same day delivery. They don't want to go and order and wait to, that kind of stuff. And we have a way to deliver. That would be your unfair advantage. But both of them require the same underlying system. Right?
Yeah. So 70-30, 70% just have a good system and a process. 30% is the category.
Yeah. And also your awareness. Like right now, I believe the huge opportunity is in industrial stuff. We have all this tariff stuff going on or whatever. And I think companies are going to be buying tons of industrial products here in the US, refurbished, whatever it is, used even, restaurant equipment. It's just going to be a great time to sell that kind of product. And I'll give you an example. Signature Hardware. It's this big company called Ferguson, and they're using it to liquidate a ton of industrial stuff. And they sold just a sale that was a couple weeks ago. It was like $1.8 million, their store price. And I always say this, the store price is a lie. So let's cut it in half. Say it's $900,000. Okay. Well, it sold for $13,000.
Oh,
right.
And
check
like
this
anyone
out.
on the planet with a resale certificate could have bought this.
Yeah. Check it out. So it's not worth 1.8. So I said, okay, let's say 906,000 half, but let's be really cynical and say it's only worth 25% of the store price. So $435,000. So you buy it for 13 and you're into it 10 grand for freight. So 23 grand. The most expensive item on the list sells for 10K. And I posted a picture of it online. It's this big valve at Home Depot. It's $12,800. Right. And so the second most expensive item on the list is 8K and there's 3 of them. So you sell 4 products and you get $34,000 back. And there's still 3,000 items in this left for you.
Did this go for sale on B-Stock? Where was this found?
Yeah, I posted about it. It's at the Signature Hardware
link,
and I posted a link. I'm like, here, go buy this. This is here. I'll give you I can share my screen.
So what's the gotcha? What is the asterisk? You got to find buyers and it's hard to find buyers?
It's a ton of work.
What type of work? Like
it's to sell it. You got to call. You got to go. There, I just put the link in the chat. You have to. How would you sell that big giant industrial thing? Most people aren't going to want to talk to you, right? But this is not a deal that I would recommend the first auction to be, right? But if you've been buying a little at a time, if you made your first $1,000, you flip that $1,000 switch in your brain. You buy a deal like this, it's insane.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. I like boring stuff. So I found this auction. It was Grainger. Grainger's this huge equipment
company.
Yeah. So I looked up and there was like an auction for 1,000 door hinges, but they were these specialty hinges like they put in hotels where the hinge runs all the way down the door. They're like super security. They put them in apartment buildings and stuff, really obscure. But I posted in my mastermind, I'm like, hey, this is going to be a good deal because no one's going to buy it. They're all brand new. I had a guy come up, one of the guys I work with, and he says, okay, I just checked the scrap value and it's probably $3,000 for aluminum because they're aluminum. And so he's like, all right. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and bid. And I'm like, do it, dude. This is a great deal. He wins the auction for, if you buy the hinges, they're $220 each. Okay. There was 1,000, it's $220,000. He bought the load for $985. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so Jim then gets on the phone, calls the hinge company when 7 pallets of hinges he gets. And he calls the hinge company, says, hey, funny story. I just bought these. And they go, oh, matter of fact, we're out. We don't have any right now. Let me give you the name of a sales rep because I'm sure we have clients that need some. Calls a client, sells 200 hinges at $40 a pop, $8,000. and he still has 800 in stock. These deals are happening every single day.
Gosh.
This is like, I always post that industrial thing, that 1.8 million that sold for 13. My first line in the post was, I swear this is true. People don't believe it. But then I just show it. I'm going, look here, this is it. And it's insane.
In full transparency, I will say to the listeners, Shannon's not paying me. I'm not paying him. We're just friends. And I want you guys to have amazing info. His mastermind is $5 a month.
Yeah, it's $5. And I don't get anything from these auction companies, B stock. I make nothing. I've done this for 25 years and it's so fun. I can't stop talking about it. You know, my poor wife, because I come in, I'm all, look at this deal. You know, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And just
that is incredible. He could have sold it for scrap value and tripled his money.
That's it. So the way I look at these auctions, the way I always think about them, the first question I ask is, what do I have to do just to get my money back? That's all I'm thinking about, because I'm going to invest. I'm trying to learn something new, because I don't know anything about these industrial products, but can I protect my $13,000 in investment and then wind up with thousands of other things that I can sell for the next year or two? Another good example is Kohler, the plumbing people. Well, they make like lights and sinks and all kinds of stuff for homes too. I posted about this on X. Let me just read you this. This one auction, $23,988, sold for $500. Brand new. This is all brand new stuff. It's like bathroom faucets, sinks, lighting. $36,533 sold for $2,300. All brand new. And the way you sell this stuff is, I don't want to sell it one at a time, but I want to go out to contractors, house flippers, real estate agents, designers, and sell this stuff for 20% of what Kohler is. And you're buying it at 5 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And it's all brand new and it gets delivered to, you can have it delivered to your house. Most accessible form of entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is reselling something. Unless you're going to build an app or some kind of, people that are far smart. I'm just a simple man.
This
I
is
just
more
buy
accessible.
and sell.
Yeah. Do you have like a mathematical equation that you look at? Like, okay, I need to buy a 5 cents on the dollar. I need to sell at 20 cents on the dollar. I'm going to gross 4x my money. I would net 2x my money.
I use a thing I call it the product equation, where you plug in the math and it's just a big fancy, spreadsheet. But, you take what the store price they say it's worth and you cut that in half, because it's always a lie. Costco it's not a lie when Costco does it, because they don't typically discount very much.
Yeah.
So that's why they're much safer to buy from. But I cut that in half and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pay no more. If I really want it, I'm going to pay 20% of half. So, if it's basically about 10%, including shipping landed to my door, 10%, that you're very safe, but you're not, you can't do it if you're not willing to work. It's not passive income. I would never tell anybody. It's hard, it's difficult, but very rewarding.
Yeah.
But it takes consistency. It takes learning the system. But man, it's fun, man. And everybody I talk to about it is always like, how did you get this? My whole house is full of this stuff. I bought $12,000 worth of patio furniture last year for like $800. They were doing free shipping. Costco does free shipping days like 3-4 times a year. If you're within 300 miles of one of their distribution centers, everything you buy, they deliver for free. And, I bought like 12 pallets worth of Blackstone grills. Every buddy of mine got a Blackstone grill for $100. And then I bought, furniture, fire pits, all these umbrellas.
Hey, is that where my solo stove came from?
No, I ordered that special.
Because that was customized.
Co-founders. But I love the solo stove, man. Those things are amazing.
I've used the heck out of it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, did all that furniture sell?
I didn't sell any of it. I sat on it. I sit on it outside of my house. So I put some at my house. I own vacation rentals. So we use them for vacation rentals. And so it's another way to save an incredible amount of money on stuff. And you pick the category. Like if you want to sell clothing, you want to sell NFL, Major League Baseball, and NBA. Hot. Great. We bought a deal. It was about almost 20,000 pieces of that product, all brand new. And we paid $28,000 for it because my wife wanted a project after we sold Checker Store. And I'm like, let's buy this deal. And I made a terrible mistake because I didn't scroll sometimes in spreadsheets, it collapse the cells, when they send it to you a little bit. Yep. I didn't expand it.
Mm-hmm.
And after I bought it and I still, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great deal. It turned out they were like giant. They were like 3 triple X, 4X, 5X, 6X, huge. And I was like, oh man, I've made a terrible mistake, you know.
Just because the cells weren't expanded on those columns?
I blew it. I was in a rush. I was kind of scrolling through.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, we're going to lose. Who's going to buy this product? This 5X kind of thing. But it turned out if you're like a Chicago Bears fan and you're 5X and you want a jersey, do you think you can just go down to Dick's Sporting Goods and buy one?
Yeah, no.
No.
You got to pay up too.
They were hot. Yeah, they were. So the first thing I did was I got on the phone because I wanted to get my $28,000 back. And I sold like 5,000 pieces, got my 28 grand back. It left us 13,000 pieces to sell. And we sold them. We bought the deal for 28,000 and sold it for 103.
Oh my goodness.
And we did it in our garage because my building was gone. And my wife just shipped it out. It's just like, oh, I'll put it in a USPS envelope and da-da-da. And this is repeatable stuff, man.
My mind is like buzzing right now.
Mine too. I start talking, I get very excited. I get very excited about it.
How much of this? So it's like buying is easy, right?
Yeah.
Relative reselling is the hard part. How much of selling is just being on phone calls with the right people?
Yeah. So I always have a phrase I call it the first law of auctions is never buy anything unless you know what you can already sell it for. So you want to use like eBay product research. That service is free up there. They used to charge for it when it was Terapeak, but now it's free. So you can search 3 years of all kinds of data on what it sold for on eBay, how many. That's a great place to start. But the one thing people don't do is nobody likes to pick up the phone, right? Everything's, oh, I'm just going to email them with this and that. But if you pick up the phone, you can really learn a lot. And so I called, like when that NFL deal, I called like small sporting places, like sports cards place, comic book places, small like team supply places. And I found out that for them to buy some of these jerseys, they were like $80, you know, and my cost was like $1.40, right?
What are they selling them for?
Well, they sell for like, I don't know, these jerseys like $120 or something like that.
Wow.
And so I was like, hey, I can sell you these jerseys for like $30, you know, and they were like, yeah, I want to buy some, you know, so you just have to keep calling. And most of the calls, they won't answer or they just say, no, I'm not interested.
That's how it goes.
But one person can change your entire life.
Yeah.
With that one single phone call. And these deals are repeatable. So you don't have to rush in. Like if you see a deal on something 1 week, you should start researching, not buying. That's when you go, oh, there's a company called Alpha Broader. You probably never heard of it. They sell $2 billion worth of imprintable clothing per year. These
Alpha Broader?
Yeah. Alpha Broader. Alpha and the BRO.
Okay. There it is.
Yeah.
Imprintable apparel. That's just like ready to be printed on.
Yeah, almost every custom print, you know, online shirt, whatever place,
like Giljan.
Yes, they use these guys. Right? They provide all this stuff. So I started seeing their auctions come up, and it's because this is what I do. I study. You know, I don't watch Netflix. I watch auctions, and so I just saw. I'm like, who are these people? I didn't know anything about them. But I noticed that there was an auction with all brand new jackets, clothing, polo shirts and stuff. And this auction, it was $116,929. And the bid was $100. Somebody had $100 bid. And I was like, well, this is weird. So I just watched it. And it sold for like, I think about $230. It was like 8 pallets it was 5 pallets. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. And in the old days, I would be like, I'm buying this right now, but I have vowed not to. I'm trying to simplify my life. And I'm sharing this with other people. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go post this because this is nuts. Well, they've had auctions every week like this. There's another batch that closed today. That's how you start studying. You get on the phone and you call, or you go up on social media and say, who's in the imprintable clothes business? Because I had a guy come up in my comments. He's like, hey, I know this other guy that does this. You're like, yeah, connect him. You know, let's figure it out. So you have time to study. There should be no rush. It's like, okay, I'm learning this clothing market. You don't want to sell stuff one at a time, really. I mean, you may want to, maybe if it's NFL gear or something, but this stuff you want to sell to other companies and you know, to Custom Ink or one of those t-shirt printable, or whoever you want to call them.
Any of the 30,000 local screen printers in the country, right?
Yes.
Like you could go to Outscraper, scrape all those. You could get the cell phone numbers. You could text them all.
Yes. Maybe 9 out of 10 won't believe you, but you have a manifest. So you actually have the list. You're like, hey, look, I have, and you have to have a good story. And the story, just tell them the truth. Hey, I'm in the resale business and I get all these opportunities and I got this opportunity across my desk. Would you guys ever buy this stuff? This one's already gone. Somebody already bought it because you're okay. Now you got scarcity. No, because they'd be like, oh, I want this one. You're like, oh, sorry. But next week, I think I'm going to get another load of this. I'm going to get you other, what would you pay for this stuff? And, they sell these stuff for $30, $40, $50, $60 for some of these jackets and stuff. So you say, you let them set the price. It's like, well, the most I could pay for these would be $5 a piece. And you go, wow, man, that's low. Okay. And you leave. And then you go back and you buy them for $1 or 50 cents. And then you call that guy back.
Okay, I'll do $5.
Yeah, I got it for you, man, because I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah.
I can sell it to you for $5. And you make $50,000.
All right, come back 1 week from today for part 2, which is even better than part 1, I promise. Please share with a friend.